Hey everybody, my name is Nani Magara and welcome to another episode of the Plunge Podcast. We are in episode 5 and listen, when I started podcasting, right, someone told me that when you're beginning, or at the very least as a beginner, that I should have like a season 1 and then take a break and a season 2 as opposed to just having like episode on episode on episode. So I thought about it and I was like, all the cool series out there like Power. I mean, right now I've been binging Power. I don't know what y'all are watching, but it always has eight episodes per season. So I am halfway past my first season, and now we're in part B. If this was a cassette, we'd be on part B. So yeah, shout out to me for being here for 5 episodes. It's not been easy, but it's been super fun. And also shout out to Team Box who are behind the scenes and they've really helped me out throughout this whole journey of having a self-help podcast. All right, cool. So let's get into it. Today's episode has been inspired by a lot of the DMs, WhatsApp messages, comments I've been getting from some of the reels I've shared on social media, especially Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok in particular, where a lot of y'all are really interested in therapy. How did I get into therapy? Why did I get into therapy? How can you get into therapy? And so basically, I'm going to name this episode Therapy and Tarot Reading, How I Am Committed to Self Growth. All right, cool. So where do we start? I'll start with how I even ended up wanting to have a self-help podcast. So during COVID, I was staying with my mom, and then so this is pre-COVID. Like, COVID hit in March, right, in Kenya. So in February, she traveled and went to Embu, which is where I'm from, which is my hometown. And then I was left by myself in a 3-bedroom apartment. And I was like, okay, what do we do? And then the whole of the country was on lockdown. So she couldn't come to Nairobi. I couldn't go to Embu. So I was literally stuck in a 3-bedroom apartment by myself. So in the beginning, it was a lot of fun. I used to invite my friends over, although it was not allowed at the time, but whatever. I was kicking it. We were kicking it. And then now you just start hearing so and so's brother has COVID, your neighbor has COVID. And I was like, okay, I don't think this is a cool idea anymore to have my friends coming over and just partying like the whole night, and they stay for a week and then they go, then they come back again. I was afraid that I was going to get COVID as well. So I kind of told them, okay, my house has to stop being the party house and you'll have to go back home to your homes. So I was left in isolation basically. And after binging so much Netflix and Showmax and YouTube, you kind of have to start asking, okay, what's the purpose of all of this? And then I think that's the time when everybody was kind of getting into living a purposeful life, reaching out to loved ones, and yada yada. Like, there's a lot of emotion going on around that time. And I remember I was dating this guy who, well, looking back, I can't even use the word dating, but at the time I was dating him and he wasn't in the country. So it was like, what are we doing? So I started watching Steve Harvey. You know how Steve Harvey has that Ask Steve segment where girls kind of ask Steve, hey, Steve, there's this guy I'm into, but he's not really, but he is, but, and like Uncle Steve is like, girl, he's just not that into you. You deserve better. You're the prize. So I would just keep watching and watching. And I found it really fascinating. And then I was like, okay, this is actually, he has a point. Uncle Steve has a point. All right. So I started watching all Uncle Steve. Like, I would binge watch the whole day. And I love watching TV. So I would binge watch on Ask Steve Harvey episodes, looping them on YouTube. And then from Steve, I remember he had these talks with Oprah on like relationship talks and how to become better and blah 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 blah. And I've always thought like Oprah was very like very soulful and very like growthy, and I was like, I just want to have fun. I'm not really here for like serious conversations. But then I think the whole thing of me being in isolation kind of made me start getting like an introspection to like, what life is about and like what am I really doing. People were dying. So I was like, okay, now I need to kind of start figure out like, is there a purpose to this life? What's my life purpose in this life, right? So I actually started binge watching on Oprah shows, right? And then Oprah now introduces me to Iyanla Van Zandt. And if anybody knows Iyanla, you know that she's gonna fix your life. So now I started binge watching on Iyanla's Fix Your Life episodes. And that's when I realized I had a lot of childhood trauma. I had a lot of my own personal trauma that I was projecting on the people around me, projecting towards my family, projecting towards my friends, projecting even towards my coworkers, my colleagues. Like I was just projecting. So I just started really questioning, okay, so who am I really? And then I also started questioning like, okay, so I'm in this marketing and communications field, but like, do I even like being employed? Like I started questioning everything. And then I think in healing they say when you start questioning it means that now you're being pivoted into kind of like a different direction to your life. So this is super cliche, but I also started watching a lot of church stuff. I mean, during COVID was crazy because like it was either you're either really healing or you're going off the other end, you know. So I started watching Mike Todd from Transformation Church on YouTube. Firstly, because I thought he's really, really cute. Like, oof, that guy is fine. So I was like, okay, he's kind of cute. I mean, and he can really, really dress. Like his swag is like on top. So I was like, okay, if I can have a cute pastor who dresses really, really good, and his sermons are fire, okay, I can dig with this whole God thing happening. And I also come from a very religious background. My maternal grandma was like known throughout the entire like Embu community for being like a very staunch Christian woman. So, I mean, well, I guess it was in my blood that at some point I was going to become a God girl, hashtag God girl. But at the time, I was like, I mean, yeah, I believe in God, but like, I'm still in the streets. So, when I started this whole journey, then COVID kind of like subsided, and then after a while, I guess life kind of continued, moved on, blah blah blah, and then I started like getting into meditation. So now this is now what really pivoted me. Started really listening to Lisa Nichols. Oof, amazing life coach. Like if you need a digital life coach, I mean, I say Lisa Nichols was my first ever life coach. And I don't even know her, but we share a name, Lisa. So I was like, okay, I feel you. But if you want to transform your life, please go check out Lisa Nichols on YouTube or Mind Valley, and she will literally put your life into perspective. So I started binge watching, and like I'm a binge watcher. So if I like your stuff, I will binge watch everything you've ever done, ever. So Lisa goes on to say how she only had like two nickels to rub between her and poverty, and how she had a kid and she had nothing to really sustain her, and she decided to really work for her dream. And now she's an amazing multi-millionaire, best bookseller slash author, and she's traveling the world living her best life. And I think she's in her 50s, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure. But yeah, check her out on Instagram or YouTube. Like she changed my life. So when I started binging on what Lisa was saying, I thought to myself, okay, maybe okay, yeah, I have some traumas in me that I need to go check. Because I promise you, there's people out there who know the former me. I say the pre COVID me. And yeah, I was a savage. I wasn't as nice as I am now. But then looking back, I realized that I had a lot of traumas that someone would trigger, and I would just go off. Like I would just pop off on anyone and anything. So yeah, I apologize if I've ever hurt you from my past life. That wasn't me. That was my traumas. Anyway, so beside the point. So I thought to myself, let me get into therapy. Let me just give it a go. I was scared as hell because I was like, I'm going to meet an entire stranger and I'm going to tell her all the secrets that I keep very well tucked away at the back of my subconscious mind. Yeah. So, but I was like, you know what? I'm committed to my growth. I'm committed to becoming the noni that I know myself to be and not the noni that I'm coming off as, right? Or the noni that I'm pretending to be or showing up as. Like, I didn't like that version of me because I knew there's a deeper, more authentic version of me. So, decided to get into therapy. Um, uh, my first ever therapy session, that therapist was so tough love, like the definition of tough love. Like, I don't know if it's because she first saw me, like my sister puts it so well. She says when you first meet me, your first perception is okay, she's kind of a little formidable looking, but like deep down I'm literally a marshmallow. So I feel like, and this is my perception, it could be true or not, but I feel like she saw me and she was like, this is such a strong hardcore chick, so we are gonna go in. And she went in and she went in, and I just felt so bare. Like, I felt like it's like you have a wound, you have this wound, and someone just comes and just removes all the bandages that you have and kind of leaves you with no way to patch it back up, you know? So I feel like she opened this wound, and she was really spot on opening the wound, but then I felt like the wound was just left bare. Like, okay, then what, you know? So I remember going back home that day and like feeling so heavy, like I'm from emotional weightlifting. Like, you know how you go to the gym and you haven't been to the gym forever, right? Like for 2 years straight. And then you go to the gym and the next day you wake up and your whole body is in pain. That's how I felt. I felt like I had gone for emotional weightlifting, and I even took a sick off the next day because I couldn't deal with how much pain and trauma that I had been carrying, right? So I went to her again for another session and then a third session, and I felt like the pain was becoming deeper and it was not going. And then she was like, "You've not even started crying." I'm like, "Girl, I have been crying on your couch and you're telling me I've not even started crying. Like, do you want to see me snort?" Like, I was like, I just told myself this is not working. So I started Googling, I Googled everything. So I was like, can you change a therapist mid session? And true to Google will give you the answer you're looking for. I was like, absolutely yes. And there's this Quora question and answers. Someone on Quora wrote, um, think of therapy like dating. You might end up dating someone who ticks all the boxes, but there's no chemistry and there's no compatibility between the two of you. And I was like, that's it. That's the answer I needed. There was no compatibility between me and this therapist, and we were just not gelling at all. And even the examples she was giving me, I was just like, what does that have to do with me? Like, at the back of my mind, I didn't tell her, but at the back of my mind, I was like, what does this have to do with me, right? So anyway, fast forward, I asked the um the team, like it's an organization, and I asked them, can I change therapists because I just feel like me and this lady we're not gelling and I want to give it another go. And I was like, if this time round I get someone who we're not gelling, then I'm the problem. It's not them, it's me, right? So they're like, okay, cool, we'll try and hook you up with someone else. And I meet this lady, and she was so kind. Like, when I tell you, this lady was so kind and so gentle with me that I was literally crying. By the way, I started my therapy journey in last year in October. So I was with this A, therapist A, October to December. And then at the beginning of the year, I put out goals for what I wanted for 2023, but I didn't have the confidence to start those goals. And I needed someone who kind of how like you're helping a kid walk. Like, okay, come, you can do it, you can do it. That's what I needed. That's the help I knew I needed. And also, if you want to know you're ready for therapy, is when you're willing to ask for help, and that's the hardest part ever. But anyway, so I reached out to her, to this new lady, and I basically talked to her about a lot of personal stuff. Maybe one day I'll get into what we discussed, but not for today. It's still very ripe, very happening, but not as much. So we start our conversations, and the conversations basically surrounded my career, my passion projects, my relationship, my childhood, my friendships, my financial situation, and especially how do I view myself as an individual. So when we started out in January with her, um, the diagnosis was that my my self-esteem was in the pits. Well, she didn't say that, but she basically said, Lisa, well, Lisa is my first name. She was like, Lisa, I think we need to work on you believing in yourself and you not waiting for other people to validate yourself. And I don't know if you all remember my first episode ever um, on the Plunge podcast was how to validate yourself, right? Because I had to learn how to do that. And we had a very, very heavy, very intense 3 months session where I would tell her how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And I think I told her at some point, I keep getting into like this depressive states where I'm like, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm not happy with where I am in my life, and I need to focus on the things that I really, really want and stop doing things that other people want me to do, right? And I think that's where this whole conversation of validation came from, where I had been I had been waiting to receive permission to choose me. And this is a quote that Lisa Nichols says all the time. She says that don't wait for people to give you permission. Give them notice. Like tell them, y'all, this is this is how now we are doing things. Not, oh my God, can I do it like this? What do you think? Nah, like you're coming saying this is how we're gonna cook this chicken, okay? Not asking, is it okay if I marinate the chicken for 20 minutes, maybe 30, maybe 40? I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Nah. Like we are coming in telling you I'm giving you notice of this is who I am, this is what I'm gonna do. And I knew there was a part of me that was like that, but at that time she wasn't there. The energy I was giving was just super low vibrational. Although on the outside I looked like I was perfectly good. And this is something that a lot of people have come to me privately telling me I am drowning, but killing it at work, killing it with a financial lifestyle, but like super drowning deep inside. And that was me at the beginning of the year. I looked like I had a cool job, whatever success looks like from the outside, but on the inside, ugh, I like to say a beautiful cake, but like rotten in the inside. That's the best analogy that I can give. So anyway, so my therapist is like, you've been carrying this dead weight on your shoulders, on your back for so many years. And it's time for you to start letting it go. But you can't let it go like just like that. So she's like, I'm going to give you an assignment this week. I'm going to give you an assignment next week. I'm going to give you an assignment the next week. And I was so committed to these assignments. Like, I want you to think of yourself as a flower. And then the next week is, I want you to give yourself daily affirmations. And then the other week was, I want you to start questioning the validity of some of the thoughts that you're holding in as truth when they're really false convictions. Like, you've convicted yourself of this. Like, do you remember, I don't know if you remember that experiment on social media that went really viral at some point, where is the dress, was it blue or green? What was the other color? Was it blue or white? Anyway, I don't remember. But anyway, so it's like, are you convinced, like, is this jacket blue or navy black or navy blue? Like, what's your conviction? So I had to go through that. And let me tell you, it was not easy. Like, I would cry, I would journal. So I even carried my journal here today. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I bought it on 2nd January 2023 at Sarit Center, at textbook center at Sarit. And I was so committed to my growth this year that I said, I don't care what needs to come out of me, but it needs to come out. And I need to become the Noni that I know myself to be, basically. So yeah, so I have gone through a journey of therapy from with my new therapist from January, and now we're in June. So it's been, how many months are those? Five and a half. And then my last session was, so today's Thursday as we're recording this. So my last session was literally on Monday, 3 days ago. And we were laughing, and I was telling her that I was this close to saying her name, although I don't think she minds. But anyway, I was telling her that I don't think I need therapy sessions anymore. I feel like we have set out our journey, like the plan that we had put in place has happened. So in fact, I was even asking her, what, like, I honestly have nothing to tell you other than to say thank you. Like, now I was validating her as a therapist. I was like, if ever you felt like this client or whoever client who you're seeing is not making any stride, is not doing anything to help you get to where, is not doing anything for you to help them get to where they need to go, like, I want to validate you for helping me, because she even gave me the confidence to start this damn podcast. Like, the first time I sat on this seat to record, I was so nervous. Like, my hands were literally shaking, and I had to put my laptop on my thighs just so, like, I could keep my hands, like, easy. But like, now I'm like, yeah, we can do this, you know? And like, it's only because she held my hand through it. Like, even as I recorded, even as I went back to the studio to so I've been recording two things at the same time. I've been recording a podcast, and I've been recording my new EP that I'll be releasing pretty soon, that I'm super excited about. But she helped me go back to my passion projects, which is my love for journalism and my love for music as a singer. And yeah, shout outs to therapy. Therapy literally changed my life, y'all. So that's my therapy journey. Now, my tarot reading journey is the other day, so random. So shout out to Zoteface, who have been hosting um, live acoustic concerts at NSK. So the other day, a couple weeks ago, Fadili had been performing, and then after his show, we were just chilling. Him, myself, Tetu Shani, and Sigu. We were just chilling, like, after a gig, like, talking about how the music was amazing, how the people kind of enjoyed. And then this guy just walks up to us and he's like, "Hey, y'all, I'm a magician. Can I do magic tricks?" Then we were looking at him like, really? Like, there's magicians in this day and age? And like, we're not kids. So we're like, anyway, whatever, do your thing. So he starts doing like playing with cards and magic and whatever. And he's literally shocking us. And we're like, nah, this nigga is playing us. Then, no, he keeps doing it and doing it. And then there's something he did that really intrigued me. Like, he played a magic card, but like with using energy as like a trick. And I am huge on energy, like energy work, right? Like even the fact that our bodies live in an energy, in the soul, which is an energy, and not the soul living in our body. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I'm huge on energy. So the fact that this guy used energy with his tricks, I thought it, but I didn't say anything. And then Fadil is like, yo, did you guys see what that guy did? That was different. He's never seen that from a magician ever before. Like, this guy is different. Like, there's something about him. Then he's like, oh, I'm not just a magician. I also do tarot card reading. So if anybody is ever interested in that, let me know. And I got super intrigued because a couple years back, when I used to work in agency and my job was to literally sell alcohol, we had an event. And we were selling an unusual gin, which basically the whole branding around that gin is like unusual like experiences. And during the campaign of that event, I remember my colleague at the time, I don't know if he's from Mexico. It's called Santiago. We used to call him Santi. I don't know if Santi was from Mexico or what. I'm not sure. But he brought a tarot card reader from Mexico, I think. I'm not sure, but anyway, she was from Latin America. So she's giving a reading to guys. Guys are drinking gin, going for tarot reading on their boyfriends. It was so hilarious. Then I was like, okay, since it's my campaign anyway, let me just go ahead and do the damn tarot card. And I never used to believe in such things. It's like people who believe in like stars and astrology and me being a Virgo, like. So I was like, okay, I always have like a very open mind to things, to trying out new stuff. I was like, okay, let me go try it out. You just never know. So this lady tells me, oh, she reads she tells you to open your hands like this, and then she feels your energy. Like she hovers her hands around your hands, feels your energy. Then she looks at me and then she says, oh wow. Then I'm like, what? Am I too drunk? Like, what? And then she says, you are one of us. And I was like, lady, what do you mean? Listen, Linda, I am just here to test my campaign, okay? I am not here to be told I'm one of you. What you mean? I'm a tarot reader? She's like, no, you're gonna have an impactful platform in the future, but you'll only do it when you're ready. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But anyway, whatever. So she says, yeah, I think that's your reading for today. And then I go and tell my friends, I think this lady just said I'm going to have an impactful platform. I don't know what the hell that means. Then they're like, well, you're selling jeans, so I guess it's impactful in some way. And then we laughed it off. Years later, here I am with an entire impactful platform with a self-help podcast that I have huge dreams for, like huge manifestations that are currently ongoing or happening for. So when this guy told me he's a tarot reader, I was like intrigued. I am in. Give me your number. Let's exchange numbers. And I didn't tell him anything about myself. I just told him my name is Noni. Here's my number. Let's talk. So a couple weeks later, was it last week? I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week. He reaches out to me. Was it on Wednesday or Thursday last week? It's been a week now. He reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey, Noni, we met A couple weeks back, are you still interested in tarot reading? I'm like, yeah, sure, definitely, let's do it. And then he asks me, so what are you interested in knowing? And I tell him, I have three key things that are right now top of mind. I want you to give me a reading on my podcast. I want you to give me a reading on my music. And I want you to give me a reading on my love life. And then he was like, okay. So then he was like, he's gonna read as per the heaviness of the energy he's receiving. So he said, first reading is podcasting, which was 4 cards. Second reading was music, which was 5 cards. Third reading was my love life, which was 6 cards. And his reading was so on point. As I've been telling my sister this story yesterday, like the things he said about me are things that I have only thought of in my mind. So even if he's a quack, right? The fact that he gave me readings on things that I have thought of and never spoken to anyone about, or if I've spoken to someone about it, it's like my family, like either my mom or my sister. Like, so I was like, whoa, I was mind blown. When I tell you, this guy is amazing. And I'll ask him, like, if anybody out there who's intrigued to get a tarot reading, um, I'll ask him if he's okay with it. I can share his contacts when this episode airs, or when I share a reel on my socials that, anybody who's interested, I can hook you up. But like, it was wild. And the whole reading took about 2 hours. Yeah, I think because I remember, yeah, it took about 2 hours, give and take 2 hours, or 1 hour, 45 minutes. But also, by the time you're getting out of a reading, like you're already in a very emotional, energetic space that you kind of have to like give yourself space to go back to the normal self, your normal self. Why am I telling you all this? I think I'm saying this because this is something that I did for myself and has really helped me. Like I wake up happy nowadays. Like I wake up smiling, and I never used to. I was always, I don't know, just going along with the flow, you know? And now I'm super intentional about giving good energy wherever I go, high energy, and and meditating, which has helped me abundantly. And all of this stuff sounds super cliche, sounds very meh to people who don't believe in it, and it's okay. But for those who feel like there's a higher self or your soul or whatever, if you feel like your ear is twitching and you feel like it's time for a change, yeah, I think it's time that you do it. So I want to read something that I wrote to myself. I write myself notes all the time. And this is in conclusion of this episode. Well, I read it today morning and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote this. Like, I am out here sounding like a whole author. By the way, I'm going to be releasing a book after season 1 of the Plunge podcast. I didn't tell anyone that. I guess now the cat's out the bag. But yeah, I will be releasing. Sorry, I was taking a quick water break. I'll be releasing a book after this season is wrapped on all of these life lessons. So, and this passage will be a part of it, which was a something I wrote to myself, and it's called Post Therapy Clarifications. So this is very raw off of the fact that I've done therapy, and this is after a session. So It's basically me writing down my very raw thoughts, raw ideas. Remember when I told you when you come from either a therapy session or a tarot reading, you need to give yourself space to process what the hell just happened, right? Because emotions and energy are so powerful, but they're not visible. So you need to give them space to understand what happened. And something that I do very well is journaling. And yeah, so I wrote this down. So this will be in conclusion of this episode. All right, so it's called Post Therapy Clarifications. I have been in mourning the old me and my old patterns, what felt familiar and safe. I thought healing would be tough, but no one readied me for post healing moments and post therapy tensions. For when you've done the work and you've healed, and now you've got to let the real you or me show up and step up and become. That means new things, new habits, new alignments, new mindsets, new ways of coping, new understanding. And new stuff never really mingles with the old. You can't put new wine in old sacks or whatever that Bible saying goes. New comes with being alone, whose friend is isolation and loneliness. New requires that I step aside and allow, surrender, let go, ease, calm, gentle. New is completely different. New is making space, being okay with other people's perceptions of myself and their conclusions about me. It's looking deeper. It's understanding that those willing and ready to misunderstand me are really, truly projecting a trauma that I just so happened to trigger. New is creating space for accountability and uncomfortability. It's listening out for signs from the universe. It's allowing things to happen and realizing I have zero control of how and when and what happens. It's surrender, the most purest form of love. Creating space allows for growth, which breeds ideas and creativity. And all of a sudden, I have time to pursue my dreams and my goals. I don't align with old people in my life anymore, and this frees up space for innovation. New is not knowing the exact steps of what's going to happen in the future, but also a deep knowing and understanding. Like I know, like I know, like I know. That my future and purposeful living will be the best life that I have ever lived. It's going deep, it's being bold, and finally, it's having fun. So much fun. It's a magical spark that turns into a chuckle, that widens into a smile, that ends into a burst of laughter. It's discernment. It's knowing what the future holds and letting go of the anxiety. It's understanding that it only gets better and better. And it's believing in my anchor's anchor. It's remembering that my ancestors will never leave me. And it's knowing that through my manifestations, whether knowingly or unknowingly, allowing allows others to heal as well. It's seeing the fog lifting up from my darkened days, and it's a birthing. It is play, it's childlike, it's care, compassion, growth, joy, and happiness. It's coming back to my original love. It's my heartbeat. It is you. It is me. It is us. So, oh, and I put a love heart after that. I am deep in my feels right now, but I really hope that this helps someone out there. And if you ever need anyone to talk to, Auntie Non is here. Much peace and love. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this. My name is Noni Mugara, and this is the Plunge Podcast.